I'm Heidi White, and my new book is The Divided Soul, Reuniting Duty and Desire in Literature and Life. The book comes from a conversation that I had with my mentor and godfather. His name's Andrew Kern. As we were talking, he said, well, you know how everything in life kind of comes down to the story of the prodigal son, and then he moved on with the conversation. And it stopped me in my tracks because I didn't know what he meant by that, but it felt true and very compelling to me. So I started thinking about this, and I realized that the parable of the prodigal son in the Gospels is a story about the reunification of a family. And the family is divided because there's one son who is pursuing only what he desires, and only what he desires in terms of his appetites. Whereas there's another son who is so driven by a distorted sense of duty that he cannot welcome his brother when he returns. But the father wants them to be reunited. He wants them to come to the feast. And so this pattern felt very true to me, very true to life, that there's this destruction that comes from inordinate desire and also a destruction that comes from inordinate duty and distorted duty. But the Father, the ruler of our soul, God, wants those two elements within the soul, within the family, within the world, the cosmos, to be reunited together. And so I started looking for this pattern to see, is this true beyond just myself? And I started seeing it everywhere. And because of the work I do on the Close Reads podcast, and in teaching, writing, and my own personal love of reading and stories, I started seeing this pattern everywhere and just wanting to write about it. So that was where the book came from, and that's what the book is about. I talk about stories from everything from Shakespeare, from classic novels to contemporary novels. I'm telling you, the pattern is everywhere. It's in the cosmos, it's in a story. Sometimes when I speak about this or talk to people about it, I'll say, give me a story, any story, and I will show you how it's about duty and desire. And so in the book, it's all up for grabs. This is more than an intellectual exercise to me. I do not want the readers of this book to think it's a really cool idea and to start identifying it with the mind, or only the mind. It's not an intellectual exercise. I want people to be able to identify their own divided souls and feel a sense of hope and connection, that we are all wrestling through this division of what we ought to do and what we want to do. I believe that if we were to look at the sins, the sicknesses, the sufferings, the brokenness of our own lives, for almost all of us, I'm willing to bet that it has something to do with the conflict between what we feel we ought to do and what we truly want to do. And I don't think it has to be that way. So I hope that as people read this book, they can begin to identify and kind of grieve and lament the brokenness of their own lives and the conflict between duty and desire, but find a connection in the sense that this is a common struggle, a universal struggle, and that there's a way through it, a way to be reunified. And the stories of the world, the great stories of the world, are always attempting to do that. I say in the book and try to show in the book that consciously or unconsciously, that is what we're doing when we tell stories, is looking at this fundamental division within each individual soul, the soul of societies, and also the spiritual cosmos, the way that things are in the world. And that stories are attempting to make sense of that in a fictional way. And by extension, then, we can find our own brokennesses in these stories and a way to reunification, which, you know, when stories have a happy ending, it is a unity between duty and desire. And, you know, an example of that is, as we all know, a wedding, right? Romantic comedies, fairy tales, they end in a wedding. And marriage is the ultimate picture of the unity of duty and desire. When your desire is for your beloved and your beloved's desire is for you, marriage is the natural next step of that. That's what a happy ending is. What I hope people will gain from the book is a deeper vision of their own souls and how that fundamental brokenness can be reunited, which is why I share a lot of stories about myself in the book. My own contemplations of duty and desire have been very healing for me, and I want to offer that back to the world as well.